Wow, this is my shocked face. I wasn't going to come on till 1 o'clock because my husband, I'm sure, is going to combust in here any second now. He's out running errands. And I just discovered via other people like Bobby the Cat and BX Beast Boy that Wren, Real Entertainment News, Kareem Williams, YouTube took his channel this morning. They took it completely down. Now, he's been fighting with Roadhog, and there's been all kinds of things said and pushed back and forth between the two of them. And not everybody likes either one of them. You know, I kind of liked Wren for quite a while, but recently my love for Wren has faded because he started saying worse and worse things about women. Even after Aaron and myself talked to him and said, hey, nitwit, and said, hey, don't do that. Don't call women those names. So it kind of would blow my mind that everybody was running to, I don't even want to say his name. Let's just call him Pavement Porcine or Kaye Serta. Both of those things that mean the same thing as his name, Roadhog. So Roadhog has been fighting with him. He's been fighting with Roadhog. Gauntlets have been tossed. At one point, they were talking about having some kind of fight, and I was laughing over that, saying, Kareem the Crusher Williams. Sorta. Kareem the Crusher Williams versus Road Hard Pavement Hog. But I'm kind of okay. I'm having pretty extreme allergies right now. My nose is continually running because mango trees are blooming. So I was trying to give my bedroom the GI party. I mean, not just a normal clean, but just like take everything apart and sanitize the crap out of it. And I was going to do that today. I've been working on it pretty steadily. And I found the last box of American Kleenex among my things when I started cleaning. So I'm a happy camper. I've got that. But I'm really shocked about this particular turn of events. I think Roadhog possibly faces that in the future if he keeps yelling the C word at every woman. That's going to be a problem. And that's why I'm coming on early, because I'm so incredibly shocked. I just ditched my cleaning for a while. I'm shocked that this has happened. Cindy, I am too. I am. So while I'm being shocked over Real Entertainment News, and I know the BX Beast Boy is probably going to say some things about Black creators being canceled, and there's a lot of truth to that. There are a lot of Black creators that are held to a different standard, a higher standard, and more stuff than the white ones. There's a lot of truth to that, I think. But this is not one of those. This is guys that say horrible things about women. One of them got squashed. And seeing his recent posts, I can't help but think it was probably well-deserved. I'm just going to come right out and say it. And that's me liking him. So now that I've sounded off on Roadhog and versus Wren, and Wren getting quashed by YouTube, I'm going to talk about the crap I wanted to talk about initially. Jim Bob Duggar loses. He lost the Republican primary yesterday. How close the Republican primary was to, hey, Kira, knowing how close the Republican primary was to Josh's trial date, part of me cynically wonders, did Jim Bob Duggar, hey, Kentucky girl, did Jim Bob Duggar do this as a way to kind of take at least a little bit of the media's attention off of Josh? I mean, we've seen him do this distraction thing again and again and again and again. Hey, Amanda, I don't think that Jim Bob Duggar could have realistically won. I think he lives in some sort of fundie fantasy land where he really thinks that he could have won. But the other thing with him is he's just in the fantasy land to the point where he's trying to control everybody and everything they say about him, everything. If I were him, I'd be taking a look at Miss Amy. It's Amy Duggar King, because last night, yeah, he did leak the data thing as a distraction. I'm convinced of it, Amanda. But then last night, I'm looking at Twitter going, oh my gosh, Amy Duggar King threw shade at her cousins. And again, that was more subtle, but it's just like, if I'm caring for a pile of children, I'm going to be caring for that pile of children. And it's not fair that they didn't have childhoods, and just various things that are all true. But it's incredibly unhelpful for her to say those things in the public sphere. That's why I did my video last night, even though I was struggling for every breath and my brain was checked. Because those things are stuff you just cannot let slide. She's been saying crazy stuff. She is so passive aggressive. Absolutely, she's passive aggressive. Jim Bob tries to control the world. Amy throws passive aggressive shade. Supposedly, there's a NDA, non-disclosure agreement she signed with Jim Bob. So I think she's kind of skirting the edges of that thing, and she may find that he takes her to court, family or not. Family can sometimes be the best and the worst thing, and sometimes it's better just to shut up about them. I did see the whole statement, and I have some distinct things to say. I also wanted to say that one of the Duggar boys' friend, Tristan, last night was on Without a Box of Kleenex channel, and I remember saying on the day that Josh's guilt or innocence was announced, that Tristan was saying on Instagram that he was being harassed and continually contacted by Without a Box of Kleenex and all of her stands wanting to know the dirt on the Duggars. So I was really, really, really confused by that, because first of all, you're claiming that this person is harassing you and you're not going to say a word about your friends, the Duggars. And the next thing you know, you're coming on her channel. Please don't do that. You don't owe her or anybody else anything. You don't need to tell anybody what the Duggars are like. It's one of those things. And I'm really shocked that she went ahead and did that. Okay, I have to talk about the Holts. Yeah, she won't confront, maybe she can't confront Jim Bob. She does say shirty things about those poor kids. And I'm not liking Amy much at all, Amanda. It just strikes me as mean girl stupidity going on with her. And that doesn't help anyone. She needs to be reaching out to her cousins. She cares about them as much as she claims she does, and she's as much of a Christian as she claims she is. Her best bet would be to reaching out to them, because they are in pain right now. That was the thing about Josh's guilty plea that I didn't like. When you have family that is so badly damaged by stuff that's going on, man, I'm turning into a popsicle here. But anyway, you have family that is that hurt by the actions of the patriarch, because let's face it, Jim Bob Duggar created Josh and created Josh's unique problems when he decided the family had to be doing the whole thing about hyper modesty. No sexual thoughts whatsoever, none of that. I do like Amy, but I think she needs to be quiet for the time being. She needs to be supportive behind the scenes. Yes. She does need to support them quietly behind the scenes, and she doesn't need to be throwing passive-aggressive shade at them. We all know how shitty the whole thing is, and how the family is suffering, and how a lot of the kids, for the very first time, got to hear the reality of how their father handled their oldest brother's proclivities. So I went and I looked at the whole statement, and I was looking at Uncensored Fundie Snark, the Reddit on fundamentalists on Twitter. I mean, not on Twitter, on Reddit. I'm sorry, the subreddit on Reddit. And here's the thing. I I saw something somebody said about the Holts. Somebody was really shocked that the Holts were fundamentalists. I don't know what they were thinking when they were listening to Bobby Holt's testimony. Bobby Holt was telling the truth about everything to do with the Duggars, and I'm glad she did. But let's not mistake what they are. The Holts are still stuck in one of those high demand religious organizations. They are still fundamentalists. Why do I say that? Well, so many things. And one of the things was earlier today, she was promoting a book by David Horowitz called Dark Agenda, The War to Destroy Christian America. She was promoting Tucker Carlson's promotion of the book. If you don't know Tucker, he's on Fox News. He's a regular Fox News. He has a show. I don't have much respect for Tucker because I've seen him actually make large factual errors on his show and not make any effort to correct them when people say, hey, that's not how that happens, or that's not what that is. I got a kick like 3 years ago, maybe it was 2 or 3 years ago, when my husband was watching him. And Tucker was ranting and raving about poison guaro here in Costa Rica. He said Costa Rica was an island. He made a lot of really not very clear statements because no American tourists are being poisoned here by poison guaro. There was a problem with guaro for a while, but it wasn't the government-backed guaro factory here. It was guaro that was made and labeled under these just under-the-counter things, kind of like bathtub gin, sold very cheaply to Ticos. It was the Ticos that were bearing the brunt of the poison guaro scandal, and it was not any Americans. So he was saying it was Americans. He was also saying that Costa Rica was an island. And I laughed and said to my husband, I said, I think Panama and Nicaragua are going to be very surprised because Costa Rica is a thin little sliver of land that connects those two. It comprises part of Central America. They are coming to terms with Josh's verdict and how their dad has acted. It has to be hard to find out your dad lied or not told everything that is going on. She should be listening to her cousins. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what should happen. And those girls do have so much to process right now. So she's pushing this book. And I'm not saying it's not a good book. You know, I'm pretty liberal, but I even read books by Trump administration people. I just finished the Mark Meadows book. It was hard to read because it was rather, let's just say, not based in reality on some things. And it was really hard. I had to put it down for a long time because he said so many awful things about people that vote using mail, not understanding that the U.S. military, State Department employees, so many people around the world, Americans with their own businesses and running businesses in foreign countries. There's a million reasons why somebody might be living overseas that have nothing to do with not being patriotic, have nothing to do with laziness or the other things that Mark Meadows was claiming in his book. His book was pretty horrifying, but I did get through it. I've read almost all the books from the administration members. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, some are indifferent. I just put this one down as bad. And so Bobby Holt was promoting this book that Tucker Carlson was promoting, Dark Agenda, The War to Destroy Christian America. And I haven't read the book. I'm not going to read this book. I can tell you right now, because basically, from everything I'm reading, the breakdown of the book is that he is claiming that social justice, Black Lives Matter, and other groups like that, and all the resistance to the police and the things that they've done are all an attack on Christian America. He likes to say that social justice equals communism. And no, social justice is not a rebranding of communism. It's not even close to what communism is. And here's where it gets really interesting to me. His parents were communist. And Mark Meadows was a loud voice for liberalism until 1975 when he had his conversion, apparently. So it's actually kind of funny that she's pushing this. Horowitz also blamed slavery on Black Africans and dark-skinned Arabs. He's not a good guy. Hey, Kareem, how are you doing? That has to be hard to be deleted. I think the Roadhog thing damaged you horribly and made a lot of people back away, including myself. And I hate to do that. So back to the church. I think the church in America, Evangelical church, the Christian church. Okay, you're good. That's good. The Christian church has undergone quite a, I don't know what to call it exactly, whether I'm going to call it a tsunami of leaving Christ behind or whatever. But basically what they're saying is the Holts are promoting the whole thing that COVID was some kind of government plot to put Christians away and to kill them off and various other dumb things. I've seen her say these things. And she is hardly the only one. Jim Bob Duggar has spoken some of these before. He doesn't believe in the whole COVID thing. I'm saying the other C word you can't say on YouTube. So I'll probably will get demonetized. I'm okay with that. I don't have to be monetized. So I wanted to talk about the church, how far they've strayed from Jesus, how many people are saying and doing so many things that I'm just like horrified. Hey, Roadhog, please don't start any crap in here. But either one of you guys. That's all I can say on that. I would hate to have to ban you, but if you start it, I will. That's just how I am. That's the way I roll. I use the no longer quivering social commentary rules on my YouTube channel. Okay, so back to this. I've seen this anti-beer virus thing just take over the churches, and it's just another distraction. It's a distraction that's been put together and pushed by those on the right who don't really care about Christianity. They don't care about what's going on. They only care about controlling people. So this Sunday, I had the distinct unpleasure of going to church with my husband, and I had two people go after me about the fact that I was masked. I have an immune system illness that I sometimes have to go on chemo to kill. I had one person come up and say, this is a church that does not believe in masking. And I know that a lot of churches in America don't. This is their hill they're dying on. And they're literally dying on this hill. I'm behind again, but I have a book recommendation for you. Good. Book recommendations are, yeah, I did. I got to talk about that too. Because I forgot about that. So the other one happened when I was walking out of the church and I was going down the hill, and somebody said, you need to take that mask off. This church is not a masking church. Well, after the church, I went to the guy I know runs everything up there and said, hey, is this your official policy or not? Because if not masking is your official policy, I am gone because of this. So I've been watching this stupidity for years taking over the churches in America. They're starting to talk about stuff that doesn't have a damn thing to do with Jesus. Jesus said, love everybody and treat them decently. And that's really it's a difficult thing. And I think that there are certain people, certain bad actors in America that have managed to sell this to so many people that it's gone everywhere. So there's my rant. I'd say those people that did not realize that Bobby Holt was a member of that and fully signed off on everything fundamentalist, she is. I'm not saying that in a mean way. I'm just stating that as fact and saying, don't be surprised when you see those things coming out of her mouth. Somebody approached me a while back when I was wearing my mask. I just told them my body, my choice. Nitwit, yep. They want you to take off your masks and not have abortions. which is kind of silly. I know you've been poorly too. It's been emotionally, physically taxing. I have a bone to pick with Bobby. She hurt me recently. Ooh, the ash. Yeah, you low on spoons, I'm low on spoons. Just like I don't care for a lot of Jill and Derek's religious views. It's the same for me with the Holt's religious views. Same here, same here. However, I do think they're all champions. They're speaking up against Josh and Jim Bob, which is only a good thing. So I wanted to talk about that just a tiny bit. So I went into the Duggar Reddit, the Duggar Snark Reddit on Reddit, and looked at what the bodyguard had to say. The bodyguard talked a lot about his own PTSD and how guarding Josh really brought that on. It really brought it out. He had a rough time of it. He confirmed a lot of things, including the fact that he was he confirmed the fact that he was one of the people who reported on what the kids did. I don't see how he wouldn't be a mandatory reporter, being a security guy. But who knows? It could be that he's just not one of those people. But he did report. He talked about the most horrifying thing about Josh I'd ever heard yet. He talked about how he would be guarding Josh, and Josh would be driving somewhere. And Josh would have a cell phone up on the dashboard like that. He'd be watching it. And it was always the PRORN on it graphically. And that anybody driving by, walking by, just sitting around by the road could see what was going on. I remember when they privated their flight logs back in 2015, which he had to say, yes, I remember that too, because when it went down, it was pretty horrible, because before that, you could just go on FlightAware, plug in the number, the identification number of one of their two planes, and see where they'd been, see where they were going. And that was always interesting to me, because it put to lie a lot of the things they were saying, particularly when it came to Josh and the treatment center they had him in and things like that. They were saying, oh, no. Yeah, well, he was there. You should read it, Nitwit, because he had all kinds of not very complimentary things to say about the Duggars, but in particularly Josh. Josh apparently is just as smug in real life as he comes across to us on the internet. I think that Josh is in for a rude awakening, and especially in jail. The judge said it could take up to 4 months to do all the sentencing. I guess they have to do sentencing recommendations. Everybody has to put in their answer and why they think he should. Chances are they'll be allowing victim statements in there. They'll be allowing everybody to have their say before the judge makes up his mind about the sentence. Because I don't think that in federal court that the jury determines the sentence. It's usually it's the judge's call. It's a wealth of information, Nitwit. Oh, yes, it certainly is. He confirmed a lot of things I'd heard and or thought about the Duggars through the years. And midnight flights and horrible conditions with terrible piloting harks to my mind the Shamblins and how her husband didn't have proper training. Exactly, Diash. If I know anything about people in the quiverful realm, here's what I do know. I know that they always overestimate their own damn abilities, and it always comes around and bites them in the rear end. You know, John David, that was his interest, flying, so now he's got these planes, and I don't know how rated on instruments he is or anything about that. I know nothing about Arkansas licensing regulations for small pilots. I suspect they're probably as loose as they are in Louisiana. And is the judge who determines sentencing in Fed court. Yeah, I figured as much. I figured that was it. I need a rabbit hole reading. Oh, I had a rabbit hole read the other day I've got to confess to real quick. I saw a ultra-Orthodox Jewish man in PriceSmart the other day in Liberia on Monday, and I was fascinated because he had on the prayer shawl under his clothing. You could see all the tassels hanging out, the black slacks, the black shoes, the white shirt, the black hat. Looked like a blues brother, but it was interesting. I wanted to talk to him, but then again, I know that a lot of the Orthodox people will not talk to women, that they're strange women. So I decided I did not want to be a strange woman, either by fundamentalist standards or by Orthodox Jewry. Just no way. Judaism. I just opened Reddit and see that Ben Seawald's post scolding people for being rude. Ben Seawald, the best husband money could buy for Jessa. Jessa and Ben have still had their star hitched to Jim Bob. Apparently finding out that he has lied to them had no effect on them. J-Rod's son couldn't hack pilot school. Ben is gross, I can agree. Diash, and that's really true about poor Timothy. Poor silly Timothy. He couldn't hack airplane school. He couldn't hack regular school. That homeschooling that his mother gave him apparently caused him to have to take remedial coursework, which I shouldn't even be laughing about that because she herself was homeschooled by her mother. Now she's homeschooling her children. And I think it's kind of like the law of diminishing returns as far as I'm seeing in Quiverful. You have these people homeschooling, and the original homeschooling gets worse and worse with every generation. I've said this many times before. My only friends in Quiverful that did homeschooling successfully all had university degrees. I think people who have a high school diploma, it's just going to be hard for them. I'm not saying they can't do it and they can't do it right, because they can, obviously, but you have Jill Rodriguez, whose mother taught her, who did not go to public school. And then you have Timothy, who can't even handle remedial courses in community college. Poor kid. Homeschooling is very unregulated. That's the problem with it. That's the problem. It is unregulated, so there's no effort made to find out if the kids have even learned anything. Those Rodriguez kids have been giving such a disservice by their parents. Absolutely. Worse than the Duggars for sure, as far as education opportunities. Somebody brought up an interesting question on one of the boards I'm on. They said, now that all this has happened and the Duggars are kind of in trouble, will we see a Rodriguez Duggar wedding? I suppose anything's possible. I'm shocked. Honestly, I pity. Yeah. He tried to do those how to date videos and instructions for women finding a spouse. I haven't laughed so in a long time. That was funny, but I still, on funny Timothy score, I still think the funniest one was when his poor mother pushed him to do a video for It Is Well With My Soul. Cindy Kunzman and I laughed endlessly over that forced, pitchy performance. And he looked like he would have rather been anywhere at that moment than singing that stupid song. Poor kid. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and go. My husband just arrived back from having our car worked on. I need to talk to him real quick before he runs off for the rest of the day to teach English to Costa Ricans. So y'all have a great day. Try not to get embroiled in anybody else's fights. Try not to stress out too much about the Duggars. It's been really hard on all of us. But those of us with no spoons, Amanda, I'm not sure why there hasn't been, except to say that the Bates have kind of fallen away from the Duggars. You guys have a great day and take care of yourselves. It's really a hard time of the year.